What's up, internet land? How are you doing? It's your man Eddie here today on this beautiful evening. It is December 14th, 2021, and we are creeping up to the end of the year and the beginning of 2022. Woo, 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 woo. Yes, we are, and I hope this year has been a fantastic year for you and your family, and I hope that you accomplished all of your goals that you set forth for the new year back in 2020, when you did those New Year resolutions. Hopefully you completed those, and you're having a great year, and you are thinking about the new year. I certainly am. Alright, so this video is about cryptocurrency. Now, I was browsing bitcointalk.org, and if you've read my book, I talk about this in The Bag Holder, which is a great book, and you can find the link down below. The inventor of Bitcoin, he goes by the name of Craig Wright, Dr. Craig Wright. Now, basically, it's called the property flaw of Lightning, and he's referring to the Lightning network that is on BTC. Okay, now he talks about how Bitcoin, in his design, he designed Bitcoin as it's a property. Okay, it's not some abstract idea. He goes on to say that handling stolen Bitcoin is a crime, is theft. And he goes into detail on how Lightning Network is run. He goes into detail about how miners validate certain transactions, and if a miner gets a court order from a judge in the United States or UK and ignores that order, that they are committing a crime. So, if you are not familiar with the Bitcoin white paper, I suggest that you go read it. It's a great paper. And from my understanding, that the paper was much longer originally than it is when Satoshi actually published it in 2008. And I learned this through the Bitcoin trial that just happened. But let's go ahead and discuss this blog post. Okay? Now, in the Bitcoin white paper, Craig Wright talks about the traditional privacy model when you're dealing with stocks and things like that, where you have the identities, the transactions, to trusted parties, to the counterparty, and then you have a wall here, then the public. So this all goes on, the identities that are connected to the transactions and the third trusted parties and the counterparties, all of that is concealed from the public. However, in Bitcoin, it's like it flips it on its head. It says, basically goes the identities, then there's a firewall, then it goes to transactions to the public. So that means that all of the Bitcoin transactions are public, but it's firewalled from the actual identities. So that is how Bitcoin model changed a lot of things dealing with transactions. All the transactions are public. You can see the transactions. However, you can't see the identity of the individual with the transactions as you can with the traditional privacy model. Now, the beginning of this blog post talks about segregated witness, and He goes to say that segregated witness, also known as SegWit, was said to be introduced to stop purported errors caused by malleability. The truth of the matter is that it was introduced as a means of producing the Lightning Network, short Lightning, protocol, and changing Bitcoin from a property-based token system to an account-based one. Bitcoin is based on indivisible property tokens known as Satoshi. There are 100 million individual tokens for every nominal coin known as Bitcoin. Okay? And I'll talk about this in my book as well. So if you've read my book, you are already familiar with this. Now, we go on down here. Bitcoin allows possession and acts of property as the owner or proprietary of the tokens may exercise power to exclude others. Unlike other digital property, Bitcoin can be subject to bailment. Now, what is bailment? Let's go down and look. Here we go. The Law Dictionary. What is bailment? A delivery of goods or personal property by one person to another in trust for the execution of a special object upon or in relation to such goods, beneficial either to the bailer or bailee or both, and upon a contract express or implied to perform the trust and carry out such object, and thereupon either to re-deliver the goods to the bailer or otherwise dispose of the same, in conformity with the purpose of the trust. All right. So now we know what bailment is as defined by the Law Dictionary. We're going to go back, and the scenario can be achieved by simply sending the coins to the bailee or through the use of a smart contract, such as in the form of an escrow agreement. Tokens may be locked in trust subject to the execution of a contract or act upon which the tokens may be either delivered to the beneficial owner, the bailer, or should the bailee fail in his or her duty, seized by the bailee. Bitcoin as indivisible property is a problem for systems like the Lightning Network. You see, the reason for segregated witness, which I have hinted at, stems from the fact that you cannot remove the base peg value that is used in a Lightning transaction without destroying the entire channel. Such is also why they made malleability out to be a major security flaw within Bitcoin. It isn't. Malleability is only a security flaw in Lightning-based payment channels, which were never a part of Bitcoin. You see, Lightning Network is about creating a system that is not built on individual tokens, but rather balances, because they are treated very differently under law. Yet, the Lightning Network cannot work without Bitcoin tokens as the initial seed base. Here lies the greatest flaw of the system. There is no way in a blockchain to remove the property rights associated with Bitcoin. Each Bitcoin comprises indivisible tokens, which in turn present certain legal obligations. All right, so that means, in other words, that the BTC, those individuals who created Lightning Network, they're trying to change the entire system. And instead of trading tokens, they're trying to just change the balance. But he said right here, Lightning cannot work without Bitcoin tokens as the initial seed base. So that means that Bitcoin, that Lightning Network, needs and relies on Bitcoin, or else Lightning Network does not work. Now let's keep moving. I'm trying to keep this simple, but the long story short is that BTC in its Lightning Network is not the original Bitcoin. BSV, Bitcoin Satoshi Vision, is the original Bitcoin. Let's keep going. Nemo dat quod non habet. Nemo dat quod non habet. Or, to simplify the Latin phrase, the Nemo dat rule presents the legal principle that no one gives what they don't have. That means that you can't give somebody something that you never had in the first place. That's what I interpret that phrase to mean. But let's keep going. And we'll go back to this again. Bitcoin tokens are property. Following the purchase of Bitcoin where you haven't met customer due diligence, CDD, and KYC, know your customers, requirements, and recorded the identity of the person you're attempting to buy from, you face a scenario where good title does not pass. If stolen Bitcoin are passed into a Lightning channel, the purchaser in the Lightning channel does not gain title. All right, you get that. Equivalently, the civil rule of nemo plus iuris ad alium transfer potest quam ipsi habet, or one cannot transfer to another more rights than he has, means that it does not matter whether you send Bitcoin to a Lightning channel. If the Bitcoin are stolen, they cannot be transferred. And this goes back to something that Craig stated. Can't remember if it was one of his videos, educational videos, or a blog, or one of his speeches at a conference. But he was saying that Bitcoin could be like gold when the real owner has a solid block of gold. He can sell it to anybody and it's still gold. But if someone comes and steals his gold, then that gold turns into worthless lead. And once that original was gold, now is lead, is given back to the original owner, it turns back into gold. I believe that was Craig Wright who gave that example. And that is basically how Bitcoin is going to work. Where if you steal Bitcoin, you can't use it, you can't purchase anything else with it. But once those Bitcoins are returned back to the original owner, then that person rightfully can do with that Bitcoin what they want to do with it. But let's keep going here. All right. Then he goes into Under the Theft Act of 1968 in the UK, but we're going to go over to the USA. Basically, he says there is a section of the Theft Act 1968 in the UK that provides legislation analogous to legislation in China, the USA, and many other countries concerning the handling of stolen goods. He also talks about how there are less than 100 nodes running Bitcoin. But we'll get into that in a minute. Handling stolen goods. A person handles stolen goods if otherwise than in the course of stealing, knowingly or believing them to be stolen goods, he dishonestly receives the goods or dishonestly undertakes or assists in their retention, removal, disposal, or realization by or for the benefit of another person, or if he arranges to do so. A person is guilty of handling stolen goods shall, on conviction on indictment, be liable to imprisonment for a term not exceeding 14 years. All right. So, and let's go down here. He talks about a freezing order, and basically that when commercial nodes get an order from a court not to allow certain transactions, and they do ignore the court orders, that they are breaking the law by stealing. Okay. And let's go down here. Right here. The biggest flaw in systems where people build on top of Bitcoin without understanding it comes with the fact that the coins are property. Okay? Let's read that again. The biggest flaw in systems where people build on top of Bitcoin without understanding it comes with the fact that the coins are property. Property rights follow even when coins are redistributed. If you move a Bitcoin token through 1,000 addresses, the original owner maintains ownership. When you have BTC 1.0, you really have 100 million individual and indivisible tokens, known as Satoshi. If you take the BTC 1.0 and send it to a miner and onto the Lightning Network with the small nominal fee of 1 million Satoshi, transferring 99 million Satoshi or BTC 0.99, and it turns out that there is a freezing order, proceeds of crime order, or some other notification that alerts to the theft of the tokens, the miner receiving the BTC 0.01 fee is handling stolen goods. And we go back to the traditional privacy model as we mentioned before, and the new privacy models. Now, we already talked about this here. He goes on to say an exchange that handles stolen goods is liable and will have to pay damages. And this goes to where Craig Wright had sent out warnings to these exchanges such as Coinbase and Kraken and others who were part of, possibly dealing with stolen goods. All right. Bitcoin is not a system without identity. Section 10 of my white paper notes identities, which are firewalled from the public network. In other words, individuals on the network are required by law to do their own customer due diligence and meet the requirements. And here near the end, he goes on to say that basically nodes are miners. All right. And the false narrative is that non-mining nodes would do anything. They don't. They follow what miners or real nodes do. They can verify their own transactions and nothing more. The end result is that Bitcoin miners and exchanges will follow court orders. If you want to argue that code is law, remember that the court can order code to be patched. When I introduced the alert key in 2010, it would have allowed a simple manner to stop the proceeds of crimes and stolen Bitcoin being taken. The hacks like Cryptsy and embezzlement cases like Mt. Gox would not be viable. It is troubling that such ways have gone on for so long. But 2020 marks the year that law comes to Bitcoin and all the copies. As such, and it is explained in the Bitcoin white paper, honest miners form the 51% who enforce rules and follow court orders. So, there you have it. This was written back in 2020. It's now 2021, about to be 2022. And things are about to change. things are about to change. BTC, the exchanges, they're going to be in for a rude awakening. And people who are invested in BTC, I'm not giving investment advice, but everyone needs to research everything, read the white paper, read what Satoshi is saying, and do the right thing. All right, and that's all for this video. BTC is a scam. BSV, Bitcoin Satoshi Vision, is the real Bitcoin. You heard it here. This is Eddie. I'm out.